Hi, welcome to my video on factor by grouping. And in this one we're going to do factor completely. That means you break down all expressions as in factors. Factor completely. Let's do some examples. Well, we have to remember that the first rule of factoring is remove the GCF if there is one. And notice that we have a 5, 5, 5 in each term. So I'm going to take the 5 out of each term. 5 is a GCF, so 5xy divided by 5 is xy, plus 5xb divided by 5 is xb, 5ay divided by 5 is ay, 5ab divided by 5 is ab. So we have the 5 taken out because of GCF. Now we have 4 terms, so we can try to work it out by what we call grouping, because we go with the first pair and the second pair. So that gives us, let's see, I have to keep writing the 5 down because it stays on the outside. So I take x out because it's common. So x out, that gives me a y plus a b. And that's a plus. There's an a common, so I take the a out and I get a y plus b. So notice I'm working on the inside bracket. The 5 is out here. So there's the 5 outside because of the GCF. And inside of here, I have a y plus b as a binomial GCF. So when you factor out the y plus b out of this expression, you get an x left. And when you factor out the y plus b out of this expression, you get a plus a left. And now you notice I have a bracket here and a big bracket here. So that really can be written as 5 bracket y plus b bracket x plus a. The only double bracket, the big one, is only there to keep the 5 outside of whatever happens in here. And so this double bracket, the big one, you don't need a double set of brackets going back to back like this. One of them will do. And we're going to do number 2. And we have 4 terms. So we'll go with 2 and 2. Let's see what happens. First 2, x squared is common. X is common, but we take the smallest exponent. It's x squared. So x cubed divided by x squared is x. 2x squared divided by x squared is a plus 2. And we have a negative, so we get a negative here, so there's a negative there. 9 is the GCF. So we take out a negative 9. So negative 9x divided by negative 9 is x. And a negative 18 divided by negative 9 is a plus 2. And notice that the 2 terms are the same. Notice that this binomial is the same as this one. So we move the common binomial. And we get x squared minus 9 going in the bracket. And you notice that the x squared minus 9, the x squared minus 9 is the difference of 2 squares. And that is x squared minus 3 squared. It's this difference, subtraction of 2 squares. So the difference of 2 squares that you practice in factoring 1 is, how to get x squared is x and x. How to get 9 is 3 and 3, and a plus and a minus. Because the product is negative, then you have to have a plus and a minus. So that's the same terms separated by a plus minus. We call it the difference of 2 squares. So that's x squared minus 3 squared. X plus 3, x minus 3. C. Now there's no 4 terms here, but you notice that we have a y plus 1 is the common is the GCF binomial in all terms. So take the first one, and when you take the y plus 1 out, you get an x squared. Take the second one, when you take a y plus 1 out, you get a plus 6x. And the last one, when you take a y plus 1 out, you get a plus 8. And you notice, this is a trinomial, and we know, or should know, because if you reviewed my factoring 1, that this has a product of 8, and the product is 8, and the sum is 6, So the factors of 8 are 8 times 1, 4 times 2. So which factors multiply to give you 8 and add to give you 6? It's got to be the 4 and the 2. That means there's two brackets. So in x squared comes from x times x. And because the product is positive, you'll have 2 of the middle signs, so it's 2 pluses. So the factors of 8 to give me a 6 is 4 and 2. 4 and 2. So it's factored completely. Again, this is reviewing factoring 1, which is what we should be doing. Continually reviewing and making sure we know what we're doing. And D, we have 4 terms. So we'll take 2 and 2. We'll take a 3 out of the first 2. So that's an x plus y. Plus, we see a y in the second set. So we got an xy. Ooh, we got 2 xy. So probably what happens is, notice let's go back. So I just assumed it was 4 terms, but this is, that gives me an xy, so it gives me 1 plus 1. So that gives me an xy, so that's a 2. In other words, the 2 of these can be added together to give me 2xy, which means I have a 3x plus 3y plus 2xy. So the 2 of these are the same. They can be added together. That means I don't have 4 terms now. I only have 2. So I have an x here, but no x here. I have a 3 here and a 3 here, but no 3 here. I have a y here and a y here, but no y. So I do not have a common factor. So this cannot be factored any further because the 2 of those have to be added together. So be careful. Not everything works as is all the time, especially after you get all the factoring done. So be careful. I was just going by 2 and 2, like you would, and then I discovered that xy is here twice, so that's a 1 plus a 1, so that gives me a 2, so that's a 2xy, where I could have added. Let's try E and see what happens. Again, I got 4 terms, so I go 2 and 2. I have a 7 as the numerical GCF. I have an x, and the smallest exponent is 2. So if I take 7x squared and divide it into 7x cubed, I get an x. If I take 7x squared and divide it by 7x squared, I get a 1. Remember, 2 terms here. I have to have 2 in here. And I have a plus. 2 is common. So I take the 2 out. 2x divided by 2 is x. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now, I have an x plus 1, which is the binomial that's common to both. So when I take the x plus 1 out of this one, I get a 7x squared. When I take the x plus 1 out of here, I get a 2. And that can't go any further. That's a square, but it's not the difference of 2 squares. So it can't go any further. Okay. Let's practice on some of them. Now we have factor completely practice. Practice means I provide you with 6 that you can do on your own now. Pause the video, work out, do 1 at a time. When you get the right answer, then keep going. If you don't, go back and check. So the first rule in factoring is GCF. So I see 4, 4, 6, and 6. I see 2 as the GCF. So 2 into 4x squared is 2x squared. 2 into 4xy is a 2xy. 2 into 6x is 3x. 2 into 6y is 3y. Now I have the 2. Now I have 4 terms on the inside, so let's group them as 2 and 2 and see what happens. There's the 2. There's the big brackets. So I see a 2x common in the first 2. So that gives me x plus y. 2x squared divided by 2x is x. And 2xy divided by 2x is y. I see a plus. 3 is a common factor between these two. 3x divided by 3 is x. 3y divided by 3 is y. And if you notice, that one and that one, they're the same. So I have a 2, big bracket, and I take out the x plus y that's common. And so if I take out x plus y here, I get a 2x. If If I take out x plus y here, I get a plus 3. And so that's that. And there's the double big brackets. So the answer is 2 bracket x plus y bracket 2x plus 3. Completely factored because I took the 2 out at the beginning. Taking the GCF, monomial GCF, out of all the terms makes the factoring easier. Number 2, I have 4 terms, so let's go 2 and 2. So y squared is, there's a y in both of these, but I take out the smallest one, square. Y cubed divided by y squared is y. Negative 3y squared divided by y squared is a 3. I have a minus, and I take out a 9. GCF, because that's a minus, I put a minus. 9 is a common factor, so negative 9y divided by negative 9 is y, plus 27 divided by negative 9 is negative 3. And you notice that both of them have the same binomial GCF, so we'll take out the y plus y minus 3, we get a y squared left, and we take the y minus 3 out of here, and we get a minus 9 left. But to notice, again, just to explain, y squared minus 9 is the difference of 2 squares. So that's a y squared minus 3 squared. So y minus 3 is there. So the difference of 2 squares become y squared is y and y. 9 is 3 and 3. And you have a plus and a minus. So there's the 3 factors, but notice that 2 factors are the same. So y minus 3, there's 1 there and 1 there, so when you multiply them, you get 2 of them. So that makes it, to have the 2 of these combined to get 1. That's like saying 10 times 10 is 10 squared. And number 3, we have x squared minus 16 is common to all 3 of these. So when you take it out, you get an x squared. When you take it out, you get a negative 2x. When you take it out, you get a negative 8. So x squared minus 16 times x squared is this one. And that x squared minus 16 times negative 2 is there. And x squared minus 16 times negative 8 is there. And x squared minus 16, that's the difference of 2 squares. Notice, that's a, just go up here, that's x squared minus 4 squared. So that becomes x, and 16 is 4 and 4 with a plus and a minus. And also, can this be factored? Well, notice that the product right here is negative 8. The sum is negative 2. The factors of 8 are 8 times 1, 4 times 2. But notice the product is negative 8, so that means the factors are plus and minus. So that means because the product is negative, the factors differ. So the factors differ by 2. So 8 and 1, if they differ, got to give you a 7 or negative 7. So the correct answer is 4 and 2. So 8 and 1 is not right, so 4 and 2. So here we go. So x squared is x and x. The factors of 8 are 4 and 2. That works. But they have to be plus and minus, and they have to be to give you a negative 2. So if I said plus 4 minus 2, nope. So it's a minus 4 plus 2y. Multiply, negative 8. Add, negative 2. Because that's a product, that's a sum. So if you multiply these 2 factors, you get that. If you add these 2 factors, you get that. And what do we have? We have an x plus 4. And we have an x minus 4. There's 2 of them, so that's a square. And again, a little bit different in the factoring. When you do factoring, you got to keep thinking. And again, I had a double here. So this is why we talk about it. This is a little bit more enriched. It gets you thinking. If you keep doing the same factoring all the time, yep, that's good, but you've got to stretch it and make it a little bit different. And number 4, we have 2 terms. 2 terms is grouping. and we take a b out of the first one, we get an a squared plus 4. B is the GCF, so we get a squared minus 4. We have a negative, and we have a 2 common. So that's a squared plus 4. So we take the negative, because that's a negative, we put a negative. 2 is the GCF between 2 and 8. And don't forget, when you do negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. Negative 8 divided by negative 2 is plus 4. And x squared plus 4 is the binomial GCF, and that leaves us with a b minus 2. And notice this time we have an a squared plus 4. That's an a squared plus 2 squared. There's a squared and 2 squared, but there's a sum of 2 squares. That's the sum of 2 squares. And if you reviewed again, factoring 1, the section on the sum of 2 squares, a squared plus 4 is the sum of 2 squares, and that cannot be factored into real numbers. That's as far as we can go. Number 5, we got 2 and 2 again, and in the first one we have we got x in each term. The smallest exponent is 2. We got a y in each of these two terms, so we go with 2, smallest one. And now, while I mentioned it, when you're looking at this at the beginning, don't forget to see if b or a or a number is common through all terms. And right here, same thing. I got an x and an x and an x, but I don't have an x there, so it's not common to all terms, so we broke it up into 2 and 2. Always check to see if the GCF is in all terms. So we take the first 2, and we divide x squared y squared into x cubed y squared. We get an x. And we divide negative 5x squared y squared by x squared y squared. We get a negative 5. And right here we have a negative, and we have a GCF of 100. So we take out the 100, and a negative divided by negative positive, so that gives us 1x. 500 divided by negative 100 is a negative 5. So we have a GCF of x minus 5. That's common to the two of these. That's the binomial GCF. And what's left is x squared, y squared in the first one. And this one we got a minus 100. And again, we have an x squared, y squared minus 100. And that is that's an x, y being squared. And that's a 10 being squared. And that's the difference of 2 squares. And because of the difference of 2 squares, well, here's what we do. We put the same terms in each one, xy and xy. We get 100 times 100, or 10 times 10. And because the product is negative, we have a plus and a minus. And that cannot factor any further. And number 6, let's see. We have 4 terms. Is x in all terms? No. Is a? No. Is nope. No common GCF in all terms. So we'll go with 2 and 2. That gives us a 4x squared. 4 is the GCF of 4 and 100. X squared is in both terms. So we divide, we get an a squared. And we divide 4x squared into this one, and we get a minus 25. Plus, now there's nothing common here, but if nothing common, we can go, that's an a squared minus 25. But we can pretend, or we can put a 1 here to make sure. So we're taking a positive 1 out, because we got an a squared minus 25, we put a 1 there. 1 times that is a squared minus 25. That means a squared minus 25 is the common GCF. We get 4x squared plus 1. And notice again the difference of 2 squares. Let's see, difference of 2 squares is a and a. 25 is 5 and 5. And because the product is negative, we got a plus and a minus. And this is the sum of 2 squares, but that's the sum, so that cannot factor any further. You cannot factor the sum of two squares. 4x squared is the same as 2x all squared. 1 is the same as 1 squared. We cannot factor the sum of two squares, but we can factor the difference of two squares. And that brings us to the end of factor completely. Factor completely means break it right down and make sure you have as many factors written out as possible. If you like my video, click the like button. If you're not a subscriber, click my subscriber button if you wish, and my notification bell, because more videos are coming your way. Write a comment on any video, or this video in particular, and visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com. I have sections. One is me on my degrees and teaching experience. The section on video talks about the strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. And the content section has the topics on my YouTube channel, the number of videos on those topics. And the black font is what's there right now. And the red font are the topics that will be there in the near future. Thank you very much for viewing my video. Bye-bye.